नमस्कार, आप देख रहे हैं बैटल ग्राउंड एनडीटीवी नेटवर्क के सभी चैनल्स पे और इस वक्त हम बेंगलुरु में हैं एक बहुत ही खास पैनल के साथ। जब चुनाव आता है तो बात होती है कि पॉलिटिशियन को बुलाएंगे तो समझ में क्या आएगा, समझ में कम आता है। हम आज ऐसे पैनल से बात कर रहे हैं जिससे आपको ये समझ में आएगा कि बेंगलुरु या कर्नाटक लोकसभा के इस इलेक्शन के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेट क्यों है या साउथ के दूसरे स्टेट्स क्यों ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट हैं। मोदी जी ने जिस प्रकार के दौरे किए हैं सदर्न स्टेट्स में, वो एक बड़ी कहानी बताता है, उसको समझने की कोशिश करेंगे। लेकिन दोस्तों, उसके पहले एक डिस्क्लोजर है। डिस्क्लोजर ये है कि दिल्ली वाले दोस्त मेरे बुरा न माने कि मुझे दिल्ली से ज़्यादा मुंबई पसंद है, लेकिन मैं मुंबई से ज़्यादा बड़ा सपोर्टर बेंगलुरु का हूँ, क्योंकि बेंगलुरु पूरे इंडिया को ब्रेन पावर सप्लाई करता है। मदरबोर्ड या आप जिसको मेन फ्रेम कहते हैं वो बेंगलुरु में है, और बेंगलुरु अकेला नहीं है ब्रेन पावर सप्लाई करने वाला। आजकल उसमें गुजरात का भी नाम है। आप जानते हैं मेरा इशारा अहमदाबाद में किन लोगों की तरफ है। इसलिए यहाँ पर हम चर्चा जो कर रहे हैं उसमें दो तीन बड़ी बातें बताना ज़रूरी है कि इस इलेक्शन में क्या वॉच करें। हम वॉच ये करें कि कर्नाटक गुजरात के बाद बीजेपी के लिए सबसे स्ट्रेटजिक इंपॉर्टेंट का स्टेट क्यों है, यूपी और महाराष्ट्र से ज़्यादा, दिल्ली से ज़्यादा। इसी तरीके से ये समझने की कोशिश करें कि 2014 या 19 के चुनाव में अगर हर तीसरा वोटर ये कहता था कि मैं मोदी जी के कारण वोट कर रहा हूँ, तो वो बेंगलोर में उनकी पॉपुलैरिटी उससे भी ज़्यादा, करीब 20% ज़्यादा ऐसी क्यों है कि 2 में से 1 आदमी कह रहा है कि मैं मोदी जी के कारण वोट करूं। मोस्ट पॉपुलर अगर स्टेट्स में देखें तो मोस्ट पॉपुलर प्राइम मिनिस्टर वो हैं। और कर्नाटक में चूंकि स्टेट में कांग्रेस की सरकार है तो जाहिर है अभी अभी जीत करके आई है, इसलिए इसको लोग कहते हैं कॉन्टेस्ट है। समझेंगे कि कॉन्टेस्ट है भी या नहीं। और इस चर्चा में जो लोग शामिल हो रहे हैं उनका मैं परिचय कर रहा हूं। उसके पहले ओवर टू वीरा।
Well, thank you very much, Sanjay. I hope to be southern comfort for Sanjay, but over the course of the show, if it turns out into southern discomfort, don't blame me. Karnataka is a fascinating election. We'll try and decode this battleground Karnataka through all its numbers, through all its fascinating regions, but also from the larger symbolic import of these elections. Why is this crucial? Because it's an enormous battle both for the opposition for numbers finally, as well as for the ruling party as far as South India is concerned, Sanjay. And that's what perhaps is a defining feature of Karnataka 2024.
एब्सोल्युटली। तो हमारे साथ जो गेस्ट्स हैं उनका परिचय कराएं। हमारे लेफ्ट साइड से चलते हैं। सुगता श्रीनिवास राजू, बहुत सारी किताबें लिखी है इन्होंने और बहुत ही सीनियर जर्नलिस्ट हमारे साथ हैं। संदीप शास्त्री, लोकनीति के कारण आप सब लोग इनको जानते हैं, बड़े फैमिलियर इंसान हैं और इनके जो डेटा क्रंचिंग है उसमें पॉलिटिकल कहानियाँ ये बहुत डिस्पैशनेटली आपको समझाएंगे। मोहनदास पै को कौन नहीं जानता, सीए भी हैं, बेंगलोरियन भी हैं और पॉलिटिकल अफेयर्स पे बहुत ही कैंडिड ओपिनियन रखने के लिए वो जाने जाते हैं। नुरैन फजल हमारे साथ हैं, इन्वेंचर एकेडमी चलाती हैं, बच्चों को पढ़ाती हैं, लेकिन बेंगलोर के जो इश्यूज़ हैं, कर्नाटक के जो इश्यूज़ हैं उन पर शार्प फोकस है। एक्टिविस्ट के रूप में काम करती रही हैं इस तरह के जो अर्बन गवर्नेंस के इश्यूज़ हैं उन पर। और श्रद्धा शर्मा, इस एंड पे उस एंड पे 2 बिहारी बैठे हुए हैं। श्रद्धा शर्मा जो हैं वो yourstory.com से आप फैमिलियर हैं, उसकी फाउंडर और CEO हैं। ये पैनल जो है हमें बेंगलोर का या कर्नाटक का कहिए ले ऑफ द लैंड बताएगा। और सबसे पहले आप लोगों से ब्रीफ वन ओपनिंग कमेंट मैं लेना चाहता हूं, और वो ये कि इस इलेक्शन को 2024 के लोकसभा इलेक्शन को आप किस चीज़ के लिए वॉच कर रहे हैं, सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट बात क्या है। सुगता से शुरू करते हैं।
Thank you, Sanjay ji. I am looking at this election 2024, especially the South, from the point of view of whether the BJP is going to go beyond Karnataka and make an imprint in the other states. And also, the opposition has pegged a lot of hope on the South. So I think for these two factors, for both the BJP and the opposition, the South is a very, very special thing this time. So I will be watching that.
संजय जी, आप दक्षिण भारत को देखें तो 130 लोकसभा स्थान यहाँ हैं और पिछली बार एनडीए को उनमें से 30 स्थान मिले थे। 21% स्ट्राइक रेट, उत्तर भारत में 90% स्ट्राइक रेट, दक्षिण भारत में 21% स्ट्राइक रेट। क्या वो स्ट्राइक रेट को वो ज़्यादा कर सकता है? क्या बीजेपी के विरोधी पक्ष जो हैं अपना पोजीशन कंसोलिडेट कर सकते हैं? एंड आई विल मेक अ डिस्टिंक्शन बिटवीन Karnataka and Telangana on the one hand and Andhra, Kerala and Tamil Nadu on the other. I'm sure the BJP is hoping for a better performance in Telangana and retaining its good performance of last time in Karnataka. And as Sugata ji said, there is stiff competition in both these states, and that's what makes politics of South India much more interesting, because nothing is sure of which direction it will go.
Mr. Pai.
Sanjay, what I'll be watching is how the voting goes in Karnataka, because Kannadigas are thinking about the future. We're not thinking about cash, we're not thinking about giveaways, we're not thinking of subsidies from government. We're thinking about how India can develop and create great jobs for young people. And Bangalore is a microcosm of the India of the future, a forward-looking global power led by technology, led by openness, led by a culture which welcomes everybody on par with the best country, the best city in the world. So Karnataka's voting is symbolic of how Indians are looking to the future and what possibly other states will look on. We are the richest state in India in per capita terms. We are much richer than Tamil Nadu. We don't have the caste hatred of Tamil Nadu, the Dravidian politics, which is very based on caste and hatred. We don't have the communal and other, socialistic or communist deep hatred of Kerala. Telangana is a very different state, and Andhra is a little bit distant to us. So Karnataka is something about what future of India can be. And if Karnataka votes well for growth and development, and then I think we are past the stage where India will be looking at the past about poverty and about caste and all the matter that divided us.
Nurain.
Very well put, Mohan. Like Mohan, I'm a Bangalorean. And really what I'm looking for is the key issues, education. Very few people talk about it. As somebody said, it's not that all Indians are smart, but there are a lot of smart Indians out there. We have tremendous potential as a people. We have the largest population of youth in the world, the largest population of school-going children in the world, the largest working population in the world. But if we don't fix the education system, and if we don't recognize that the new world requires new learning, and we need to embrace policies such as the new education policy, set aside things like language concerns. The three-language policy, I understand, has not met with approval from some states. But we need to recognize that the kind of education that the youth require today is very, very different. We need to focus on employability. We need to focus on entrepreneurship. We need to focus on enhancing ease of doing business, because this demographic dividend is going to be a disaster if we don't fix that. So those are the key issues I'll be looking out for.
संजय, आपने कहा कि हम बिहार से हैं, तो यहाँ पे मैं कहूँगी कि कर्नाटका और बेंगलोर टू मी इज़ a representation of India. यहाँ पे है वसुदेव कुटुंबकम. मैं बिहार से आके एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप यहाँ पे शुरू की हूँ, और कन्नडिगा हैं और नॉन कन्नडिगाज हैं, और ये जो यंग लोग हैं उनमें आज वो जो पिछले 10 साल में जो चीज़ आया है कि हम किसी से कम नहीं हैं, हमें अमेरिका नहीं जाना है, कहीं नहीं जाना है, तो ये यंग लोग इस 2024 के इलेक्शन में बहुत ही बखूबी ढंग से वोट करेंगे और आएंगे, वो मैं देखना चाहती हूँ.
बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग. एक छोटा सा ऑब्जर्वेशन इस बात पे, ये एक बड़ा ट्रेंड है, और वो ट्रेंड ये है कि जो देश के अंदर का माइग्रेशन है उसमें साउथ के स्टेट्स में नॉर्थ के बहुत सारे लोग आ गए हैं. तो बेंगलोर के टेकी हमसे ये कहते हैं कि हम प्रोडक्ट और इंजीनियरिंग तो कर लेते हैं, हमको कॉमर्स नहीं आता. ये नॉर्थ के मित्तल, बंसल, गुप्ता, इन लोगों ने आकर के हमको सिखाया है. उसके बाद ये सिलिकॉन वैली ऑफ इंडिया जिसको बोलते हैं बेंगलोर, वो बना है.
Well, fascinating that you made that point. I was going to try my Hindi and say "Do Bihari panel pe bari." So we are all stuck in the middle, and we must say that Sandeep Shastri, though he speaks both Hindi and English very well, he's a Shastri from Karnataka. We must declare that first. But as we go, fascinating points that you've raised, Sanjay, and I think outsider insider is a debate we'll focus on. But given the nature of the show, first we will focus deep dive into Karnataka and its intricacies of politics. And I want to pose to Shugata and Sandeep Shastri first. a question that's puzzled many, many observers. From 1984, in 1984, the Congress sweeps the Lok Sabha polls. In 1985, just after that, the Janata Party sweeps the Vidhan Sabha polls. In the last 2 decades, the BJP wins a majority of the parliamentary seats, 17, 19 and 18. In the last 2004, 9 and 14 and 25 in 2019. But has never been able to get a majority on its own in the assembly polls. Even now, the Congress has swept the Vidhan Sabha polls. What is it that makes this distinction between Vidhan Sabha and Lok Sabha polls? What is it about the Karnataka voter that they make such a sharp distinction? First, Sugata.
Thank you, Veera. I mean, that is entirely the wisdom of the voter. And that, I think, is not just exclusive to Karnataka anymore. I think that has spread across India now. Initially, in the 80s, the Ramakrishna Hegde government that you mentioned, see, they came to power for the first time in 83. That was the first non-Congress government here. And in 84, after Mrs. Indira Gandhi's assassination, they completely lost. And Hegde, resigned and dissolved the house and went back to seek a mandate. And he came back, with a sweeping single majority, with a complete majority. Earlier, it was a coalition government with support from 17 BJP MPs, and a lot of it was a kind of a Kichdi government. But then he got a full mandate in 85. So that kind of wisdom has been exhibited by the voter in Karnataka for a very long time. So that is something fascinating, and we need to see if that happens this time as well. Because this time, let me sort of caveat my statement. This time, the Congress is in a reasonably better position. Because last time, when I say reasonably better position, last time they had 1 seat. So obviously they'll do better than that 1 seat.
Right.
So last time, I was just looking at the vote shares. See, average victory vote share was 57% in Karnataka. And 25 people won with over 57% vote share.
Yeah.
Right.
One thing about vote share, I'm very curious to know from Shastri ji, that Karnataka is one state, again very interesting for BJP, that at a low vote share, the seat conversion is higher compared to other states. How does that work?
देखिए, यहाँ पे आप कर्नाटका राज्य के एक रीजनल पिक्चर देखें तो जब बीजेपी अच्छा करता है वो कई सीट्स पे अच्छा करता है. जैसे वीरा ने बताया, अगर असेंबली इलेक्शन में बीजेपी को कभी मेजॉरिटी नहीं मिला है, वो ओल्ड मैसूर रीजन में उसके पुअर परफॉर्मेंस की वजह से है. और जो कित्तूर कर्नाटका और कल्याण कर्नाटका, नॉर्थ कर्नाटका हम कहते हैं, वहाँ पे उनका बहुत ही बेहतरीन परफॉर्मेंस होता है. सो उनका एक फोकस्ड परफॉर्मेंस रहता था. और लोकसभा इलेक्शन का चित्र थोड़ा अलग है, स्पेशली पिछले 3 इलेक्शन में. कर्नाटका के मतदार ने ये साफ फर्क किया है, क्या मैं राज्य में कौन सी सरकार आएगी उस पे मैं मत डाल रहा हूँ या केंद्र में कौन सी सरकार आएगी उस पे डाल रहा हूँ. जैसे आपने कहा, 2013 में सिद्धरामैया का सरकार यहाँ बना, बीजेपी को हार था उस समय. अगले वर्ष लोगों ने कहा, 90% लोगों ने कहा सिद्धरामैया सरकार अच्छा काम कर रहा है, लेकिन बहुमत मिला कर्नाटका से बीजेपी को. और जैसे आपने कहा, 6 में से 10 लोग जो बीजेपी को वोट कर रहे थे, उन्होंने कहा कि मोदी कारण से हम कर रहे हैं, अगर वो प्रधानमंत्री कैंडिडेट ना होते हम वोट नहीं करते. और वो 2019 में वापस कंसोलिडेट हो गया. 2018 में बीजेपी को स्पष्ट बहुमत नहीं मिला इधर, वो कंसोलिडेट हो गया अगले वर्ष. सो वेरी क्लियरली Karnataka sees this distinction, and as Sugata ji says, this time the competition is intense because while the BJP focuses on its central leadership, there is still something to be done to keep the state house in order, which is a challenge they face, which is seen in candidate declaration. And the Congress, on the other hand, is hoping on its guarantees. But then perception of the people, guarantee fine, but now we are voting for a central government. So where does it really get resolved, I think, would be the question.
One other small aspect, just adding to what Shastri ji said, And contradicting what Mr. Pai had said earlier, see, Karnataka is a very, very caste-centric electorate. You know, I mean, why BJP has not been, the question that Veera raised, why BJP has not been able to form a government on its own. And part of the answer was in what Mr. Shastri said, because they are, middle Karnataka and above, they seem to do extremely well. And in old Karnataka, in the Mysore region, in the Mysore belt, they seem to sort of be struggling. But in this election, 2023 elections, they have actually moved into the old Mysore region pretty well. See, they've maintained their vote share of 38%. And that 38% was maintained only because they got extra vote share in the old Mysore region. So it's become a very interesting thing that the BJP has now spread almost evenly across Karnataka, which was not the case till about 2018.
Fascinating points. Now, what happens sometimes as political observers, we get too, mired up in all the intricacies. And
Castes
as
and
Sanjay
subcastes.
says, you're Lingayat, Vocaliga politics, all the time you're talking about it. But Mohandas Pai, and I'll come to you, Nurain, Mohandas Pai, when you
You are
say...
quoting our private conversations. Shall I also do that? Go ahead.
Mr. Pai, is this then the dichotomy that there is a section of population to whom these factors don't really matter, and that section is one bubble, and there is another section which is still driven by those grassroots politics and those equations that we talk about?
No, I think Shastri made an important point that when it comes to India, obviously Kannadigas want to see who is going to take India forward. Because, if India goes forward, the state will go forward. That's very different. There is caste politics in Karnataka. The caste politics is a part of tribal loyalties to come to power. Because for very long, we've been having the Lingayat vote and the Vocaliga vote, and the leadership has been going between two of them. And the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes vote have been somewhere in between, except, we have had Siddaramaiah who tried to consolidate all the backward communities and come to power, and he's been extremely successful. And Siddaramaiah did rule the state very well. He's been a very clean person. Now I think it's getting a bit worrisome. What is happening in the state today? We're hearing too many rumors. So obviously, when it comes to national politics, I think Karnataka thinks very differently. But when it comes to state politics, tribal loyalties, caste loyalties, all that play out in various places.
And
because we don't have a mass leader who can carry everybody with him. We don't have a mass leader.
जी संदीप.
एक छोटा पॉइंट मोहनदास जी ने राइटली कहा दैट यंगर जनरेशन, यंगर वोटर सामने देख रहा है, बट उसको मतदान करना चाहिए ना. हमारे बैंगलोर अर्बन एरिया में सर पिछले 30 सालों से जिस डिस्ट्रिक्ट में सबसे कम वोटिंग हमेशा होता आया है, बैंगलोर अर्बन डिस्ट्रिक्ट.
ये आपने वो बात कही है जिस पर मैं बहुत स्ट्रांगली महसूस करता हूं, और यहाँ ये बताना ज़रूरी है कि साउथ दिल्ली, साउथ मुंबई, साउथ बेंगलोर, ये वो सीटें हैं जो हिंदुस्तान के पावर इक्वेशन में डिस्प्रपोर्शनेट ज़्यादा पावर रखती हैं. इनका शेयर ऑफ वॉइस बहुत ज़्यादा है, लेकिन यहाँ के लोग वोट नहीं करते. ये बड़ी फिक्र की बात है, और यहाँ पर हम लोगों को मिल करके हर बगल वाले आदमी को इंश्योर करना चाहिए कि वोट डालने के लिए जाए. ये बड़ा ज़रूरी काम है. दो बातें इस कन्वर्सेशन से निकली हैं वीरा. एक तो वर्ड यूज़ हुआ गारंटी, और दूसरा कास्ट की बात चूँकि शुरू हो गई. एक ये भी लोग कहते हैं कि बीजेपी के लिए कास्ट वाला मसला, एक तो मोदी फैक्टर के कारण ये सब लेवल हो जाते हैं. मोदी फैक्टर इतना बड़ा प्रीमियम लेके आता है कि मैटर नहीं करता अगर लोकल लेवल पे माइक्रो फैक्टर काम भी कर रहे हैं तो. लेकिन क्या ये कहना सही होगा कि बाकी जगह जो स्ट्रॉन्ग ओबीसी कास्ट्स हैं उनके सामने बीजेपी ने दूसरी कास्ट्स के ओबीसी के कोलिशंस को खड़ा किया, लेकिन कर्नाटक में सुगाता यहाँ पर एक्चुअली पावरफुल ओबीसी कास्ट्स की पार्टी बन गई है, और जो स्मॉलर ओबीसी ग्रुप्स हैं वो बीजेपी को अपनी पार्टी के रूप में नहीं देखते.
You're right. And when it comes to Karnataka, it's actually gone beyond caste. It's a politics of subcaste that has now come into play. See, why the BJP lost in 2023 was because the Lingayats did not sort of hold together. Because the most populous among them, the subcaste among them, the Panchamsalis, were demanding more political power. And contrary to a lot of understanding, if in Karnataka there is a backward class leader, it is not Siddaramaiah, it's Yediyurappa. See, from 2008 on, Yediyurappa has consolidated all these small castes, small OBC castes, and also kept the Lingayats with him. And that's how he has been successful. And if Modi was not mindful of the caste thing, assuming that the name Modi would create a flat electorate, then he wouldn't have brought back Yediyurappa, who had retired, and made his son the president of the BJP. See, there's a very, very good reason as to why he has been brought back. He had retired, if you know. He didn't even contest the 23 elections. So caste is the biggest organizing thing. Right? I mean, and the Mat system in Karnataka plays a very, very crucial role as far as that is concerned.
It's a fascinating point that Sugata raises, Sanjay. And I'll question to you, Sandeep, as I prod you more on that issue, before we dilute this conversation further on that side as well. So, you know, on the one hand, the maximum number of BJP voters who say that they will vote for Modi is much greater, because of Modi is much greater in Karnataka. So the power of the central leader is much greater. But yet at the same time, you've seen the return of Janardhan Reddy in Karnataka and a return, in a sense, to the old narrative of the BJP. How do we juxtapose these two?
Veera, at one level, the Modi factor is the key to the BJP's campaign. At a ground level, in choice of candidates, caste comes into play.
Yeah.
And interestingly, what the BJP is doing, and this is from the Prime Minister's Parliament speech, they are bringing caste and class together. They have consolidated caste and class, and much of their politics is caste-based but class inclusive. So that's the style that they are adopting. So अगर आप उनका campaign देखें तो मोदी का चेहरा, मोदी के नाम पे वोट, मुझे ये अगले 3 हफ्ते में देखिए, सब 28 कैंडिडेट्स ये बात कहेंगे कि आप हमें वोट नहीं कर रहे हैं, एक सीट दे रहे हैं प्रधानमंत्री को, जो अभी प्रधानमंत्री हैं उन्हें वापस बनाने के लिए. सो वो उनका मेन मैसेज रहेगा. पर ग्राउंड लेवल पे थोड़ा जो उनको कास्ट क्लास का करना पड़ेगा, वो प्रयत्न वो कर रहे हैं. दूसरी ओर कांग्रेस पार्टी, उनकी कैंपेन देखें तो पूरा लोकल इश्यूज पे वो फोकस कर रहे हैं. सो ये दो नैरेटिव्स, नेशनल नैरेटिव वर्सेस अ लोकल नैरेटिव, आप इस चुनाव में देखेंगे कर्नाटक में.
जब कास्ट और इस तरह के लफ्ज सुनती हैं आप नूरैन, तो आप कैसे सोचती हैं? व्हाट डू यू थिंक?
Actually, I grew up in a Bangalore which didn't care about caste, community, religion. We grew up as one. We truly embraced the concept of unity with diversity. And when I speak to millennial parents in my school, as well as the school that we've adopted in Whitefield, when I speak to Gen Z, like all of you, everybody's concerned about the future of the country. They recognize that this could be India's century. And given that we are the country, the most population in the world, they recognize this could be humanity's century. But they do believe we need to shed this caste, community, religion, and we need to be one. I spoke to some students yesterday to ask them what their biggest concerns were. And the concerns that they raised were actually very different. What they raised was corruption. Every one of them had faced it, be it getting a driver's license, be it that they were deprived of a seat in the coveted college of their choice because somebody bribed and got an OBC certificate, because their parents were not allowed to build something in their house or in their commercial establishment because somebody demanded a bribe. They're concerned about divisiveness. They say political parties across the spectrum are kind of pushing this North-South divide. They're pushing South versus South in terms of water wars. They don't like that. This generation is very different. They recognize that they can't get ahead if the country as a whole is not getting ahead. And I certainly hope that we're going to change the dialogue in conversations across the country to really ensure Vikas, what's the saying now? Sabka Saath?
सबका विकास,
Sabka Vikas.
सबका
I
प्रयास.
certainly hope that that's going to be the dialogue. And I will add and say, I really don't care which political party comes to power, but what I want as a Bangalorean
जी.
is elected representatives who are going to speak for the city of Bangalore And given that we're literally down on our knees right now, despite contributing, I think we're the second largest income taxpayers in the country, Mohan?
Close to a third.
Third
Delhi is a
now.
little bit ahead.
Delhi is a little bit ahead.
राइट अभी बहुत
संजय-
इंटरेस्टिंग बातें आई मोहन सर, एक ब्रेक लेना पड़ेगा, बस ब्रेक के बाद हम तुरंत वापस आते हैं। एनडीटीवी बैटल ग्राउंड पर आप देख रहे हैं कि बेंगलोर से ये जो चर्चा हो रही है पूरे देश के लिए कितनी इंपॉर्टेंट है। थोड़ा फोकस करेंगे, एक लफ्ज़ आया था गारंटी पर, दूसरा फोकस करेंगे कुछ और साउथ इंडियन स्टेट्स पर।
Welcome back to Battleground Karnataka, here in a cool summer evening, a cooler than normal summer evening today here in Bengaluru. We are discussing all the serious political issues. We went through all the intricacies of Vidhan Sabha, Lok Sabha, but then let's look at the changing demographic in India and what that means to an election in election 2024. Mohandas Pai, you were making a point just before we went into a break on the demographic change and the young aspirations for India.
Yeah, Veera, this year, 24 out of 95, 96 crore voters, about 55 crore voters are below the age of 40. That means the worldview was formed after 90. And it means they have less knowledge about Gandhi. Gandhi is not an influence. Nehru, they've forgotten. Indira, they've forgotten. Rajiv, they've forgotten. The Congress party which says Gandhi, Nehru, Rajiv and all, nobody cares for the family. That's the important thing. And if you look at the next election, 2029, out of 100 crore voters, 65 crore will be the younger lot who are past the stage which happened earlier. So how they're going to vote this time is a precursor. Second thing is, women are voting in larger numbers. And who are the biggest beneficiaries of all the programs, the social programs? Women. Now we got more girls graduating from college, more girls getting educated, more women parts of the workforce. They want to have the say. And they cannot be dominated by their husband or the males in the family. They're very independent. I'm sure both the gentlemen will tell us in various communities. And I think that's a very important factor. And the third thing is, in Karnataka, people have got all the guarantees from Siddaramaiah and the Congress. Siddaramaiah has got no more money. The state is broke. There's no money for the next 3 years to give anything more. Now they want Modi ka guarantee. सिद्धू का गारंटी हो गया, मोदी का गारंटी चाहिए. अगर मोदी को वोट करेंगे तो मोदी का गारंटी मिलेगा. सिद्धू का खा लिया, अभी मोदी का खाएंगे. They're very smart people.
Sugata wants to say.
No, he's quoted some very interesting statistics, of people, demographics below 40. See, precisely for that reason, the narrative that the Congress is trying to build, the opposition is trying to build on unemployment may become very, very important in this election, because the aspirations and the employment opportunities are very, very crucial. And if that is not satisfied, and we don't know how that is going to play out, and the Congress's focus has almost exclusively been on the lack of employment opportunities. So that's something that I just wanted to
सुगता, यहाँ एक सवाल, चूंकि अब कांग्रेस पर थोड़ी चर्चा हो रही है, तो वो ये है कि ये इश्यूज तो बिल्कुल ठीक हैं, इनकैश करना चाहिए, अपोजिशन का काम है, लेकिन ये कांग्रेस पार्टी तो वो है ना जो आते हुए देवेगौड़ा को जिसने जाने दिया. ये कांग्रेस पार्टी तो वो है ना जब आसाम में अजमल आना चाहते थे इस चुनाव में, इसके पहले वाले चुनाव में, तो जाने दिया. इंडिया अलायंस की आप हालत देख रहे हैं. ये तो शुक्र है कि कर्नाटक में कांग्रेस पार्टी कहीं कहीं दिखलाई पड़ रही है, जो ऑल इंडिया सिचुएशन है इनकी. उसमें मेरा ये कहना है कि इन इश्यूज़ को क्रिस्टलाइज करना, कहानी कहना, ये कांग्रेस को आता है क्या?
No, you're absolutely right. See, I've been always arguing this point, and I've written it in my book as well, which is the Congress does not have a cultural narrative. Congress does not make an emotional connect anymore. All that is happening with the BJP, for various reasons. It could be the temple, it could be Modi's personal charishma. That's something that we have spoken about. Congress looks like a deracinated party without a cultural argument, and always makes a technocratic argument. And that is not going to fly when you are actually campaigning for a general election like this. So you're absolutely right about that. But I just wanted to point out that there is a counterfactual there, where if you're speaking about people below 40, then you also have to sort of take into
So,
Gandhi,
talking
employment
about
opportunity.
issues, I think, Veera, we should go to Shraddha. What does youth of today and women of Bengaluru, especially entrepreneurs, what are they saying, talking to you about? What kind of issues they are highlighting?
संजय ये जो कहावत है, पता नहीं गाना है कि ये पब्लिक है सब जानती है, तो ये जो यंग इंडिया है और जो वुमेन है वो तो बहुत ही अच्छे से सब कुछ जानते हैं। एंड आज जो मैंने कहा कि जो बहुत बड़ा चीज़ है जो हम कोई नहीं इग्नोर कर सकता है, 10 साल में हम अपोलोजेटिक इंडिया में नहीं हैं। मतलब हम जहाँ ग्रो किए थे जिस इंडिया में, हम बहुत सर झुकाए वाले लोग थे। आज जो वुमेन है वो तो ऐसे भी आज सर उठा कर हैं, और हम यहाँ पे हैं पैनल में, हम सब खड़े हैं मत। और यंग इंडिया, दे आर टुडे लुकिंग एट द अपॉर्चुनिटी द नेक्स्ट 10 years। एंड व्हेन यू सी स्टार्टअप्स यहाँ पे जितने भी, चाहे वो ज़ेरोधा हो, चाहे वो ओला हो, चाहे फ्लिपकार्ट हो, मतलब आई कैन नेम ऑल द स्टार्टअप्स यहाँ, मतलब वो कितने फ़ख्र से एम्प्लॉयमेंट क्रिएट कर रहे हैं। जो अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ है, पॉलिसीज़ हैं, दे फील वेरी वेरी प्राउड। एंड उनको है कि किस गवर्नमेंट से नेक्स्ट 10 years विल बी इंडियाज़ ईयर। तो मुझे तो लगता है कि आई वुड से कि और लास्ट बात ये कहना चाहूँगी ना कि आप मौका मिले तो बेंगलोर में ऑटो में चलिए, और ऑटो में ज़रूर बैठिएगा, क्योंकि आप कह रहे थे मुंबई और दिल्ली, वहाँ पे ऑटो में जाइएगा तो अभी भी लोग कहते हैं कि पैसा दीजिए। बॉम्बे, साउथ बॉम्बे में, और साउथ बॉम्बे नहीं, बांद्रा में, यहाँ पे 99%, और मैं रोज़ ऑटो से चलती हूँ, सारे नम्मा यात्री हो या जो भी हो, ओला उबर हो, सब के सब यूपीआई लेते हैं। देयर इज़ एन एडवांसमेंट, टेक्नोलॉजी, अपॉर्चुनिटी।
कैश दो तो बड़ा बुरा मानते हैं
बहुत। और ये चेंज जो है, ये चेंज्ड इंडिया है, ये नया इंडिया है। और मुझे लगता है कि विमेन एंड यंग इंडिया विल दिस टाइम वोट कॉन्फिडेंटली। यस,
श्रद्धा जी की बात को मैं पूरी तरह से सहमत हूँ, पर एक उसमें ऐड करूँगा। अर्बन बैंगलोर में कैशलेस इंडिया है, सब जो यूपीआई यूज़ करते हैं, और एक कैशलेस इंडिया है जिसके पास यूपीआई भी नहीं है, सच का कैशलेस इंडिया। और उस कैशलेस इंडिया का पे ध्यान जिस पार्टी ज़्यादा अहमियत से करेगी और निष्ठा से करेगी, शायद कर्नाटका में वो इम्पैक्ट आप देखेंगे।
Yes.
वो क्लास डिवाइड जो देखते हैं, मोहनदास जी ने उसके बारे में बात किया, जो पुअरर वोटर है उस वोटर को आप कैसे अपील करेंगे, क्योंकि हमें इस बात को मान के चलना है कि पुअरर वोटर में वो एक डिवाइड आज भी है, सपोर्ट डिवाइड आज भी है, और कौन सी पार्टी उस डिवाइड को क्रॉस कर सकता है वो बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है। क्या वो मोदी गारंटी काम करेगा या 5 गारंटी काम करेगा, वहाँ वो उसका importance.
Yeah, there is a narrative and there is a counter narrative for the auto rickshaw example. Sanjay, I'd just like to say it's fantastic to pay in UPI, but I can't survive the potholes. So that's the other side. That's the flip side of traveling in an auto rickshaw here. But Nurain, you know, aspiration and creation of jobs and confidence has been something entrepreneurs have had for many generations. What is it so different about this generation vis-a-vis, let us say, Mr. Pai or, or when you started off or wanting to start something else? I mean, were you all not equally confident? I mean, when we say this is aspirational India, weren't you also aspirational India at that time?
We were, but I think we lacked the confidence. Today, no matter where in the world you go as an Indian, you can go with your held up high. When I first went out as a student, people would ask me questions like, how do you speak such good English? Do you have tigers where you live? Do you have snakes? Those are the kind of questions I was asked as a young student. That story changed thanks to Bangalore. That story changed to say, hey, do you work in IT? Do you come from Silicon Valley of India? And I think when we grew up, there was a lot more scarcity. Today, there's opportunities aplenty. We are in an ecosystem which is basically very entrepreneurial. The resources available, there's expertise available. So this is a very young, confident India, which is very confident of its standing globally. It's also an India which wants to take people forward rather than, to keep focusing on the past. We're really looking forward to make the next 2-3 decades very much India's decades.
बिल्कुल। चूंकि गारंटी का जिक्र चला था वीरा, तो उसमें मोहनदास जी से मैं पूछना चाहूँगा, वो सीए भी हैं, इसलिए वो आपको इस बात को अच्छे से समझाएंगे। एक तरफ प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी की वेलफेयर पॉलिटिक्स है, दूसरी तरफ ये गारंटी वाली फ्री बीज वाली पॉलिटिक्स है। आपने जिक्र भी किया कि यहाँ पर अब 20,000 करोड़ रुपए कर्नाटक को बोरो करने पड़ेंगे, उसको फिर रीपे कौन करेगा, तो ये एक इनफिशिएंसी बिल्ड होती है। एट द सेम टाइम कुछ स्कीम्स यहाँ पर ठीक ठाक काम भी कर रही हैं, तो इसलिए सवाल खड़ा हो सकता है कि आपकी गारंटी वर्सेस हमारी गारंटी।
देखिए, अभी सिद्धरामैया का गारंटी खत्म हो गया, अभी ज़्यादा पैसा नहीं है। अगले साल 27,000 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू डेफिसिट है, ताकि वो खर्च लेना चाहते हैं गारंटी लेने के लिए। और सिद्धरामैया जी और जो कांग्रेस ने कहा है कि डेवलपमेंट के लिए पैसा नहीं है। जो एमएलए है उनको भी बहुत गुस्सा है, क्योंकि उन्हें जो इन्वेस्ट किया है वापस पैसा नहीं मिल रहा है, उनका गुस्सा हो गया। और एक साल भी वो डेफिसिट रहेगा। सर, कर्नाटक में सरकार को ज़्यादा पैसा लेने के लिए पैसा नहीं है, और लोगों को मोदी का डेवलपमेंट, मोदी ने एक अच्छा काम किया, मैं कहना चाहता हूँ। देखिए, द बिगेस्ट चैलेंज फॉर इंडिया सिंस 1950 was the deprivation and the poverty of the Indian people. Modi is the first prime minister of the country who has made sure almost every Indian has a roof over the head, water in the tap, power in the switch, toilet in the house, a gas stove, a internet account, a bank account, money in the bank, a food on the table, education for children, health insurance, etc. Abhi deprivation both come ho gaya all across India, and this program can be seen. It's there on the ground. And once deprivation is gone, the Indian becomes very different because they got self-confidence. Like Nuren said, is there among poor people. Now jobs, Shastri Avre, I want to say 1.6 crore young people, new people are joining EPFO every year. 55% is jobs given to people below the age of 25. Jobs are there, but the problem is 80% of jobs pay less than 20,000 rupees a month. Now, they don't pay more than 20,000 rupees. That is the problem. We need to create high-quality jobs. You look at what Congress has done, 30 lakh job in central government. There is no vacancy for 30 lakh job. It's much less. Then, we are going to give 1 crore or whatever it is, this apprenticeship. It makes no difference. Apprentice कहाँ देंगे? सरकार में देंगे। वो बात, और कोई जॉब नहीं है। अभी जॉब हो रहा है, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा। अगर आप साउथ आएंगे, साउथ में फैक्ट्रीज या ऑफिस में ज़्यादा जॉब है और लोग नहीं हैं। बंगाल से लोग आ रहे हैं, राजस्थान से आ रहे हैं, यूपी बिहार से आ रहे हैं। बहुत लोग इधर आकर काम कर रहे हैं, बांग्लादेश से भी आ रहे हैं, वो काम कर रहे हैं इधर। और साउथ इज जॉब सरप्लस। अगर केरला जाएंगे 10% बिहारी है, क्योंकि उनको 750 रुपीज़ 1000 रुपीज़ अ डे मिलता है। जो बिहार से आते हैं, केरला एक दुबई है उनके लिए। ये केरला वाले दुबई जाकर 1500 रुपीज़ पर डे कमाते हैं, इधर बहुत लोग आ रहे हैं। सो द इंटरनल माइग्रेशन हैज शिफ्टेड, एंड दैट्स एन इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर वी हैव टू कंसीडर।
I think the big lesson is Mohandas Pai is shifting to Hindi. So that's Nuren.
I have a question here. Should we not be looking at, and I'm sure people like Mohan and Shastri would be better equipped to answer this, but should we not be looking at how we can decentralize the raising of taxes and the distribution of those funds? Because, again, going back to the Bangalore story, we are the highest, one of the highest income tax contributors. We also pay one of the highest indirect taxes, cess, but very little actually comes back to us. Should we not be asking the government to ensure that we also don't just look at the size of the population and equity, but also the performance of the states?
So you're coming to a point which is an extremely touchy issue, Sanjay, which is the center-state equations, which one has seen play out between opposition-ruled states vis-a-vis center. When we speak of this larger model, I mean, you know, how powerful is that opposition center versus state narrative, in an election narrative, but as we go forward in a country, how do we then reconcile one state, equity, these arguments with a national perspective? I mean, Sugata, if you want to take it.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to sort of add something to what Mr. Pai said. I mean, I completely agree with him on the guarantees in Karnataka. See, there is something else that has happened. One is the MLAs are unhappy because they're not getting local area funds. But the other thing, which is far more, important, is that the budgetary allocation for departments like, say, education, irrigation, agriculture has stagnated or come down. So what is going to be the dynamic of that on the election is an extremely important thing. So that's one thing. The second thing about the tax thing that you raised, see, it's a double-edged sword. You can make a very federalist argument and say, oh, we pay 1 rupee and we get back 45 paise, and Uttar Pradesh contributes 1 rupee and gets 1 rupee 75 paise back. But then you can turn it on your head and say, Bangalore contributes 62% of its revenue to the development of the state. And if you go towards north of Karnataka, it's a sham. You know, I mean, the kind of development that has taken place there in the last 50 years.
Yeah, this
that
is
the
a
area
very
of Karge
debatable,
and,
debatable,
whatever.
and basically it is quite a flawed argument.
Yeah, it's a flawed argument.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can complete. So if Sidramaya is making that argument, then is he trying to tell us that I won't give money to Raebareli where Sonia Gandhi is coming from? Or is he going to say that I won't give money to Karge's Gulbarga?
This
that kind of a thing
conversation
comes
is
out,
actually contrary to the whole idea of India. That is the problem with this argument.
Yeah, it's a flawed argument.
Yeah.
Sir,
So,
I
Sandeep
agree,
ji-
but what I would say is that there also needs to be a performance-linked contributions.
Absolutely right. I agree
No,
with
the
you. So that
language
is-
should have been different. You know, I mean, it's
Yeah,
all
so-
good to make the federalist.
You are right. So
government.
what is happening actually at state level, we have been listening to this rhetoric that now the next round of reform has to be actually carried out by states. States are failing. They are not ready to listen to reform their education, reform their power distribution system. That is a big problem. And that is actually performance linked in this last 10 years. A lot has happened in that space. Sandeep ji wanted to say something.
दो छोटे पॉइंट कहना चाहता हूँ. एक, ये होल डिबेट अबाउट द साउथ बीइंग डिस्क्रिमिनेटेड अगेंस्ट, ये आर्ग्यूमेंट थोड़ा इलेक्शन में नहीं चलेगा मुझे लगता है दो कारण से. एक, जो मध्यम वर्ग है और अपर क्लास है, उनको लगता है कि जिस तरह से आप 5 गारंटीज़ को मिडिल क्लास और लोअर मिडिल क्लास को दे रहे हैं, अगर आपको पैसा आए तो और भी समस्या हो जाएगी. वो एक तरफ का आर्ग्यूमेंट है. जो गरीब है वो ये आर्ग्यूमेंट उनको उतना मायने नहीं रखता है. उनको लगता है कि ये हम इस आर्ग्यूमेंट से हम समझ नहीं सकते. सो सर्टेन एक्सटेंट ये जो पॉलिटिकल पास में भी देखिए, रामकृष्ण हेगड़े ने इसका उपयोग किया था, उससे कोई उनको पॉलिटिकल बेनिफिट नहीं मिल सका. सो ये एक थोड़ा मुश्किल का आर्ग्यूमेंट है. पर दूसरी पॉइंट जो क्विकली मैं कहूँगा, जो लोरेन जी ने भी कहा, जिस तरह से हम बजट में प्रोविजन हेल्थ और एजुकेशन के लिए करते हैं और जो एक्चुअल एक्सपेंडिचर होता है, आप फर्क देखिए. काफ़ी अनस्पेंट एक्सपेंडिचर दोनों क्षेत्र में रहते हैं जिसका हम उपयोग ही नहीं कर रहे राज्य में. ये एक बहुत बड़ी समस्या यहाँ पे है.
चूँकि अब समय बहुत कम बचा है और हम कोशिश करेंगे कि यहाँ पर सारे युवा छात्र हैं तो उनसे भी कुछ सवाल ले लें, लेकिन उसके पहले एक चीज़ ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि हम बेंगलुरु से बात कर रहे हैं तो पूरे साउथ के जो बाकी स्टेट हैं और वहाँ बीजेपी का जो पुश है, और यहाँ रीजनल पार्टियाँ भी बहुत मजबूत हैं, कांग्रेस की भी प्रेजेंस है, लेफ्ट पार्टी के पास भी एक स्टेट हमेशा रहता है कि आ सकता है. उसमें सुगाता से मैं समझना चाहूँगा, कर्नाटक के अलावा बाकी स्टेट्स को कैसे देखते हैं in the context of मोदी जी के सीरियल दौरे.
That's a very interesting question, Sanjay ji, because you know it's usually the narrative is that BJP does not have a decent presence in the south except for Karnataka. But I think that has shifted, that has moved a little bit. From 2014 till now, you know, I was just looking at the number of visits that Modi has made to just a single state called Tamil Nadu, where he is unlikely to win more than 2 or 3 seats. You know, he has made 26 visits. And between January of 2024 and now, he has visited there 6 or 7 times. And he has been consistently, you know, pursuing the cultural agenda there by trying to speak about the Tamil language in the United Nations. You know, he has been quoting verses from Tamil in the United Nations. He has taken Sengol to the new parliament. Then, you know, he has played all kinds of things, you know, cultish game. You know, Rajnikant is on his side. Ilayaraja, the big icons, you know, he has nominated him to the Rajya Sabha. He took the Chinese president to Tamil Nadu. See, there is a civilizational challenge that he perceives there in Tamil Nadu. So the kind of, emphasis that he has laid to sort of at least convert a bit of that.
Do you agree second most important focus they have been giving is on Kerala, where very difficult to win a seat?
Well, but that is exactly the difference between the Congress and the BJP. The Congress loses a state and it never goes back and works. The BJP is never going to win a seat, but they will put all their effort and they'll work. And even Tamil Nadu, this whole Hindi argument that people say that Tamilians will never change. See, look at the kind of things that Modi has been saying. He has placed Tamil on par with Sanskrit. One. Two, he has been advertising that please go and listen to all my speeches in Tamil. Right? And things like that, which are quite fascinating. You know, the kind of approach that
we're really running.
बात को मैं एक ही पॉइंट ऐड करूंगा. जब प्रधानमंत्री को पूछा गया क्या आप 2029 इलेक्शन के बारे में सोच रहे हैं, उन्होंने कहा 29 का कौन सोच रहा है, मैं 2047 का सोच रहा हूँ. सो जो सुगाता ने कहा तमिलनाडु और केरला का, इट इज नॉट अबाउट 2024 और 2029, इट्स अबाउट अ लॉन्ग टर्म प्लान.
When Kerala was saying likely possibility 2 or 3 seats, that would have sent shockwaves in the DMK, but but to be honest, I think this is more of an election of symbolic victory there in terms of establishing. You can't have a state if you're such a powerful leader. You can't have one state where you don't have vote share. We'll have to open this one for questions from our audience, young students here, possibly future journalists amongst them. Please go ahead, ma'am.
So there are good evening. I'm Janani from. I'm studying my BBA, Business Administration. So I'm a person who invests a lot of financial schemes that government gives. So in case there is a central administration changes, the government changes, will the schemes continue? Or will there be any changes in the schemes that they provide in the name of Modi especially?
Who wants to take that question?
Sir, please.
I don't think it will change much. The government or the scheme? No, scheme. I don't think the schemes will change much because too many people are embedded in it. The reaction could be adverse.
Yeah.
They may rename the scheme.
Good evening to everyone. I'm Felix Nihal and I'm a BCom student studying at Don Bosco College, Kerpuram. As ma'am mentioned about Gen Z, I'm really curious to know about how social media and other digital platforms influence election campaigns and voter behavior.
It's a fascinating question. Shraddha, you must take it. If there is a your story in this election, what would that be?
Today social media plays a very, very critical role in influencing. Right, and of course, I'm not to Shastri ji. I'm not talking about the India which is in villages right now. Of course, WhatsApp reaches everywhere. We have 500 million WhatsApp users in this country. So social media ke bina election, you can't look at election today. Without digital media, you cannot look at and सबके सब का profile. अभी देखो जितने भी politicians हैं, all of them are on Instagram, all of them are on X. No one has left any platform and they are quite active. So yeah.
I'd like to add one thing to this, which is what Gen Z is expressing concerns about, and that is the echo chambers that you see on social media and the potential for misinformation being amplified. So students that I spoke to are actually expressing concerns about this, and they said that people need to be equipped to be far more discerning. Again, it comes back to education, and unfortunately, we're just not investing enough. I think last year's budget was about 2.9% of GDP towards education. Right. Commission after commission has said that we need to be investing at least 6% of GDP. According to my calculations, it should be 5 times that.
Right, and that's a fascinating point to end the show on, Sanjay. I don't know which is more difficult to decode, though, an election or Gen Z. I leave that to you.
Veera, the previous question, just one data point. See, there are 130 seats in the south, and the Congress says that south is its bastion. But I think effectively they're contesting only 70 seats. If somebody wants a breakup, I'm willing to give it to them.
That's the hardcore politics which will keep going.
प्रोड्यूसर संदीप जी, प्रोड्यूसर बिल्कुल मना कर रहे हैं, इसलिए हमको शो यहाँ ख़त्म करना होगा. लेकिन एक बहुत ही इम्पॉर्टेंट पॉइंट पे निहाल ने सवाल पूछा, और यहाँ पर मोहनदास, मैं क्लोज करूँ के बजाय मैं आपसे चाहूँगा कि आप 15 सेकंड का आंसर दें. ये जो नया वाला मीडिया है, इसके डेंजर इतने ज़्यादा सामने आ गए हैं कि पॉलिटिकल क्लास अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड थोड़ा देर से जाग रहा है और नए रेगुलेशन आने वाले हैं. क्या आप मानते हैं कि 2024 के चुनाव के बाद भारत में डिजिटल मीडिया से जुड़ी हुई और सोशल मीडिया से जुड़ी हुई, एग्रीगेटर से जुड़े हुए बहुत सारे वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस हैं जिस पर बहुत बड़ा काम होने वाला है, बड़े पॉलिसी चेंजेस होने वाले हैं?
होने वाला है. होने वाला है।
शॉर्टेस्ट आंसर। थैंक यू सो वेरी मच, थैंक यू सो वेरी मच, थैंक यू सो मच। आप लोगों ने बहुत ही इस शो में जिसको कहते हैं रिच इंफॉर्मेशन और इंसाइट दिया है, इसीलिए हम लोग इस शो को बिल्कुल सिर्फ एक्सपर्ट, सिटीजन और एलिवेटेड डिस्कशन के लिए रखे हुए हैं, क्योंकि बैटल ग्राउंड एनडीटीवी पे है और एनडीटीवी का मतलब है कि चुनाव अगर है तो एनडीटीवी पर ही देखा जाना चाहिए, क्योंकि क्लैरिटी और हमारे जो दर्शक हैं वो इंटेलिजेंट लोग हैं, उनको एक लेवल की कन्वर्सेशन चाहिए। इसी के लिए बैटल ग्राउंड अगले शहर पहुंचेगा। तब तक आपसे इजाज़त लेते हैं और सभी मेहमानों का बहुत शुक्रिया। थैंक यू।
Thank you.